Welcome to Create the Best Me. I am Carmen Hecox, a personal development coach, and I am so excited to be connecting with you today. Whether you're listening to the podcast or joining us on YouTube, my goal is to help women navigate through midlife challenges with compassion, inspiration, and empowering conversation. Each week, we'll dive into thought-provoking topics designed to build self-confidence, overcome invisible woman syndrome, and find the courage to create the best version of yourself. I'll also be joined by expert guests who will share the wisdom and insights. So make yourself comfortable and let's embark on this journey together. Well, hello there, fearless midlife trailblazers. Welcome to Create the Best Me. If you are new here, I'm so glad you made it here. If you're a returning listener, welcome back to the one and only place where we encourage and empower women in midlife to pursue their dreams and live life to the fullest. My name is Carmen Hecox, your host and personal development coach. Today's guest is Karen Church, founder and CEO of Wellness Success Coaching with Karen Church. Karen is a holistic wellness success coach who is passionate about helping women 40 plus design and create the best life by using the principles of naturopathic medicine, Ayurveda, yoga, philosophy, and neuroscience. By using these principles, she helps her clients achieve balance, vitality, longevity in all aspects of their lives. Karen specializes in identifying the root cause and treating the whole person, body, mind, and spirit, which is essential in creating natural, long-lasting results. Karen has dedicated 3 decades training and working alongside doctors of all specialties. Her secret power is empowering women to take control of their health and create the life they truly desire. Today, Karen is going to provide some insights and tell us about her program, Reboot and Rejuvenate. So let's dig into the conversation now. Hello and welcome, Karen Church, to Create the Best Me. I am so glad to have you on the show.
Thank you, Carmen. I am so pleased to be here today. Thanks for having me.
So for some of the people that do not know who you are, can you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I'm a holistic wellness coach, and I work with women 40 and over to design and create their best life, looking at their health, their overall physical health, emotional well-being, and their spirit, what's going to light them up to really create that well-rounded person.
Perfect. And the reason why I asked you to come on the show is because you have a program that helps women in midlife that may struggle with weight loss issues.
Yes, I do. A lot of women as we age, sometimes the things that we have been doing stop working. And a lot of what's out there is that it's your age. Well, I'm here to tell you, ladies, that is not a true fact. I'm in my 50s and I am in the best shape of my life, much better than I was in my 30s and even in especially my early 40s, mid 40s. And going through my journey, I just want to help more women. It doesn't have to be the case. And you can really make significant changes and have that resiliency, that longevity, and that energy, and be fit.
Perfect. So before we get into talking about your program, can you give us a little bit of background about what inspired you to design this? Tell us about your journey.
Oh, yes. My journey began about 30 years ago. And I just began to have one health issue after another. It started with just being easily getting sick, to thyroid disease, to then becoming almost pre-diabetic. And I thought, wow, what is going on here? I'm in my 30s and I'm completely falling apart. What's going to happen when I hit 40, 50, 60? And that just kind of scared me. So I started doing a lot of research, working with a lot of different doctors, from specialists in endocrinology to holistic doctors, naturopathic doctors, nutritionists, all over the place. And what I finally learned was it was a couple of things that were going on, and that was stressing my body. One was a food intolerance. Another was just chronic stress in my life that was just ongoing all the time. I'm a high achiever, so I tend to set the bar high for myself. And another was toxicity. And that's really big, especially as we age, because our livers are so important at detoxing everything. And when we're fluctuating and we're changing our hormones, that all has to be metabolized by the liver. So if we create this toxicity buildup in the body from environmental to food that we're eating to chronic stress, that will all impact being able to stay fit, healthy, and energized.
Just to give people a little bit of background, because they probably say, oh yeah, well, moms are always complaining that you're stressed. At the time, back then, and still currently, you're an aero engineer, is that correct? Aerospace?
I'm in aerospace engineering, yes.
That's a very stressful job.
Yes. I was traveling. I had 2 kids at home, traveling, working a full-time job, trying to juggle it all. I was still active, but it was a little too much. And there came to be one point where things just kind of cracked. I was working in senior management, and my vice president was completely very difficult to work with. And to say it bluntly, he was a bully. And so you can imagine going into work, feeling like I might be attacked that day. That was extremely stressful. My son was in kindergarten at the time, and he has a severe peanut allergy. Well, he was given peanuts 5 times that year. So you can imagine I'm stressed out going to work. I don't know when I'm going to receive a phone call from the school that there's been another episode, and this peanut allergy is serious. It's life and death. So I was under extreme stress all day long, every day. I lived for the weekends just so that I could try to catch up on sleep and do all of the kid activities that I needed to do. And that was it. And it was crazy. It was never ending. So that was not a sustainable lifestyle. That was not a lifestyle that was going to be healthy. And it wasn't until my doctor said to me one day, you should think about changing your career. You would do something really well in the health and wellness industry. And I thought, boy, well, I don't want to go back to school and become a doctor. And she's like, but you have so much knowledge. You could do many different things. My endocrinologist had told me years before that I could pass the endocrinology boards. Because I did. I bought a book and I read all about the body and the system. And I would go in and ask him questions like, why is my blood sugar rising? I see this, I see that. I can read my labs and understand them, because I feel that knowledge is power. When we understand, we can be more educated. We can ask those questions. We can be partners with our doctors. And that's one of the things that I educate my clients with, is to become informed and educated so that they can then make the best decisions for themselves with the doctor they're working with.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like being your own advocate. It's taking responsibility and not relying on the expert to guide you in what you need to do. I think it's part of your responsibility as a human to understand, get answers to the questions that you don't quite understand.
Yes. And it does take a lot of time and effort, and there's a lot of misinformation out there. And so that's why I thought, well, I've spent 30 years learning and trying things. This doesn't work. This is what works. Why don't I decide to coach? Why don't I decide to teach? I have this wealth of information. I can break it down easily for folks. And it all came to me one day when I realized that I love to teach. I used to also coach a girls lacrosse team. I coached them to the championship game in Northern California. And I had a blast. I did this for 4 years as the head coach. And it was one of the most rewarding times of my life. So when I sat down after the doctor had said that to me, and I really thought about it, it's like, what do I love to do? What's my passion? My passion is health and wellness. How can I teach others what I've learned so that they don't have to spend 30 years researching, trying, going to this doctor, that doctor? I spent well over $100,000 on my journey, and it's ridiculous. Why should anyone have to do all of that just to figure out how to be healthy?
And let's back up a little bit. I remember when we had previously spoke, you had explained to me that you questioned your labs, but that you were also a very active woman. And you just explained that because you said that you coached the lacrosse team, but the weight wasn't coming off.
Yes. I was even training for sprint triathlons with my husband. And I look back at those pictures and I'm like, wow, here I am swimming, biking, running. And I did the races, right? But I was not as fit as what I am today. And I don't run anymore. Now that I'm in my 50s, I'm looking for longevity for my joints. So I don't want to do that impact on them. And I don't need to do extreme exercise to maintain a healthy weight. Your body really has a set point. So if you have balance in the body from the food that you're eating is nutritious for you, and that's different for everyone. So that's another point I wanted to make to your viewers, Carmen, is that avoid following anyone else's diet. People will ask me, well, what do you eat? And I said, that may or may not work for you. It's not about what I eat. It's about figuring out what fuels your body the best. And everyone I've worked with, we have found a food or two that they don't digest properly. And when that happens, it creates toxemia in the body because that microbiome in the gut starts to change and create microtoxin. A dysbiosis happens. Those toxins leak out into the bloodstream, and that creates inflammation in the body. How that shows up for someone, it really all depends on what their predisposition is. So I have clients that come in with high blood pressure, or like I was with blood sugar problems. I have clients that come in with headaches or sinus pain. It all depends on what that person's predisposition is. We're all different. But as soon as we figure that out and remove that from what they've been eating and then heal the body, everything starts to come back online.
I actually listened to your master class, and you had talked about, you had a couple of clients that had testimonials, but I think the one that really resonated with me was there was a woman who you had been coaching, and she found herself, this catastrophe happened in Florida, which any Floridian would have been extremely stressed. And what is the natural thing that we do when we get stressed is we eat, unfortunately. That's kind of a way of like a child sucks their thumb, but it's a way that we kind of feel safe. We start eating unhealthy things. But this woman was able to continue to stress in a different way, per se. And the weight was still falling off, even though she was dealing with this life-changing event that took place in Florida.
Yes. My client, Regina, it was pretty devastating. Her neighborhood got completely demolished. I mean, there was so many homes destroyed. They had to completely evacuate to the other coast of Florida for a week. So you can imagine in a hotel with your pet. She has pets, her dog, her cat, her daughter that was in college picked her up. And unfortunately, her dad would not evacuate. And that was, besides not knowing how your home is, now she has her father who stayed there. And the last conversation had with him is that there was water coming in through the ceiling. So she didn't know when she went back whether she was going to find him live or dead. It was Cat 5 hurricane. Those that don't understand Cat 5, I mean, that's a very serious, serious storm. So extremely stressful time. And she said to me, if it wasn't for your program, Karen, and having set up her lifestyle that supports her, sustains her, and knowing what food to eat, knowing how to start her day so that she could release that stress, how to end the day, that was just golden. And like you said, she did keep losing weight. And a lot of people do tend to eat when they're stressed. And there's a very scientific reason why. And it all is how we evolved as humans. When we become stressed, it creates the flight and fight response in the body. Just like what the caveman had to do when they had to run away from whatever threat was coming their way. Because of that, our brain then thinks that we've actually exerted energy when we're stressed. So then it sends the signal that you need to refuel. So what's that signal? I'm hungry. So that's why we're hungry when we're stressed, because our brain and our body, that's how we evolved. It's telling us, it's trying to help us. Your body is always trying to help you. And that's what it's trying to do. It's saying, oh, wow, you just went through this catastrophic event. You need to eat. You need that energy. You need that sustenance. But we actually didn't.
Can you talk about, I know that I had read or listened to, is that there are different phases in your Reboot and Rejuvenate program. So can you talk about the phases? Can you talk about each different phase, what a person would expect out of each phase, and how long the program lasts?
Sure. So the program in its total is 18 weeks, and phase 1 is really doing that root cause investigation. I really want to drill down with each person because we're all unique. We're all different. Everything's tailored in the work that I do, and understand what is causing what I term root cause that comes from my engineering background. And so I go through and do a root cause investigation. What are all of the things that we need to go address physically in the body? So we look at labs, we look at digestion, we look at liver function, a whole gamut of things. Make sure everything physically is functioning. If we find something that's not, what do we need to do to address those? We look at the mind. Is there anything there that's creating us to self-sabotage? That's pulling us back to our old habits? How can we do that? And so that we can then start to create a systematic approach to our day and change how we're doing things. Little by little, we layer on those habits. So that's phase 2, is creating that sustainable lifestyle. And that's where Regina was, luckily, when the hurricane hit. So we had already identified things. We had created what she needed to do so she could still keep going. So then in phase 3, we go through what I love because it's really cleaning up the entire system. And we've identified all the causes. We've addressed each one there. We've gone through and created that lifestyle that's going to support them. So in phase 3, it's all about detoxing and cleansing, because now we're going to reignite that metabolism. And when we clean, just like we spring clean our houses, we need to spring clean that body, get everything out, because you can't avoid everything in your life. I mean, welcome to planet Earth. And there's also been a buildup over the years. So I teach how to do a mind and body cleanse. So there's the mental emotion part of the cleanse, and then there's the physical cleanse that they go through, that they learn, and then they can do. And then once you have all of this information, it's yours. You don't ever lose the information, you have that content. And if I ever update anything, you always have the latest courses and things in that container. And you can always redo that. I do recommend occasionally having to do that, because just like we have to spring clean our house, gotta clean everything back up.
So tell me, because I don't really know this stuff, but as we age, you and I are around the same age. As we get older, our hormones start to fluctuate. They start to change. Does that change the way the foods that we can eat as well? So like something I could have eaten this year, maybe 3 years down the road, I've suddenly become allergic to it, or my body can't handle it anymore.
So what I found, and this came back to actually my son, and it has nothing to do with age. It has to do with the immune system becoming oversensitive when it comes to food sensitivities and allergies. And what happened with my son was he was becoming sensitive to everything. We were running all of the blood work with the allergist and the doctor. And, he's like, okay, he truly has these allergies to peanuts. And so stay away from all nuts. I noticed that when he had dairy, he would break out on his skin. So I'm like, okay, well, no dairy. I noticed, different things. And then they said, a naturopathic doctor said, well, let's run a sensitivity test. Okay. There were 50 foods that came up on that test. And as a mom, I thought, what is this child going to eat? He can't eat anything. There was like, can you tell me? And so then they were like, well, just avoid the foods that have a number 3, because they would say, is it a number 3, a number 2, a number 1? Because they knew it was impossible to eat. And my husband said, what do we, let's put him on the dirt and water diet. And my poor son at 5 heard this and started crying. And I said, this is not a way to live. Well, it turned out my son was reacting to a lot of foods. His immune system was heightened because he had a food intolerance to potatoes. And when we took potatoes out of his diet, healed his gut, he was able to eat all these other foods that he had never eaten before, and he doesn't react to them. So what I noticed, and I haven't seen this in the scientific literature out there, but what I've seen from experiences with my son and myself and the education I've received from naturopathic doctors who, this is a lot of them, this is where they focus, is that when we heal the gut, we don't have that toxicity leaking out. And so if things are leaking out from the gut, that's going to potentially create a heightened immune response. So other foods are coming through, those are going through and leaking out. So my thoughts are, the reason why you become more sensitive as you age is you build up more toxicity in that microbiome that creates that chain of reaction. And over time, depending on what your predisposition is, you become more sensitive. Like I grew up, I was highly allergic to pollen. Every tree out there, I was allergy tested. I'm allergic to grass, cats, dogs, horses, anything with fur. And I could not be in a room with a cat for more than 15 minutes. My throat would completely change. Now I can go to my sister's. She has cat, dog, all these animals. And my immune system does not react. It's just, I don't take allergy medicine anymore. It's just amazing that when you feed the body the right foods, you become right back into balance. Food is thy medicine.
As I was telling you, my son brought a cat over to my house, and I'm having problems right now with my throat. When my kids were young, I had cats in my house all the time. And now I can't be around cats. So That's interesting that it could be just the toxicity that I have in my body that is sending out those signals as you described, because something needs to get balanced. And I understand that you also work with doctors. Is that correct?
Yes. So I am partnered with a clinic, and that's for my clients that need to do that food intolerance test. I can get that order for them, and luckily they get a discount on it because they're a client of mine. And so the clinic will run that, provide all the results, and then I go through the findings, the report, and provide that all to my clients. And I meet with the doctor once a month. So that's where I get my updates, get the latest information, what they're finding, because they're always out there testing food, looking at different things. And so that's how I get my information that I can then teach my clients. So after the program, I offer a continuation service to be able to get the latest information. Because as anything, we're always learning new things. There's always new information to put out there. And then I have other doctors, like my own medical doctor. When she learned that I was coaching, she's like, oh my gosh, so many people need your help because they don't have the time. You know, they're so busy in their practices that they can tell people you need to make some lifestyle changes to avoid going on, you know, blood pressure medication or blood sugar medication. And it's hard. It's hard to figure out how to do that, how to make those changes, what you need to do. And so she's like, sometimes I get asked, is there a health coach I can work with? And so she's like, your services are needed. I guess she runs my labs every year. And she's like, this year, she's like, I'm so jealous. Your labs are they're green across the board. She's like, oh my gosh. And she sees me once a year when like everyone, I want to know what my numbers are. I want to make sure everything's still good, even though I feel well. You should always check. You should always, all of my clients, the first thing I ask them for is, have they done their wellness labs? And if not, I tell them they need to go do that because we need that reference, that starting point.
I know that if you're not considered obese, then your insurance won't take care of you. You're on your own. Because I remember I went to my doctor and I said, I think I need to lose weight. And he says, well, you'll have to go see a nutritionist. But it's just like, go see a nutritionist. I don't know anything about finding a nutritionist. I don't know who's reputable. And unless you're obese, your insurance isn't going to cover it. And so you're kind of stuck. And so the nutritionist, I don't think they know how to read the labs or understand what it is. They just kind of say, here's your age. Here's your body, the way you carry your weight in your body. Here's what you should eat. And what if I'm still hungry? What do I do? Drink tons of water until I can't swallow any more water?
Right. And that's the other thing. There's this misconception that you need to have deprivation and restriction in order to lose weight and really cut down the calories. Well, you can do that, but as soon as you start eating like a normal person, I'll say, the normal amount, it's all going to come back. And then some is usually what happens. It's not healthy for the body. The way you lose the weight needs to be the way you keep it off. One, it's sustainable. And two, you're going to have that weight loss for good permanently. And if not, you're just going and doing that yo-yo dieting that happens all the time because it's so much more than the nutrition. And I tell people things need to be tailored. You need a therapeutic diet, which means something that is strictly for you. What is it that you can eat? My client, Regina, we had to take dairy completely out of her diet. And there was a food combination that she had to take out of her diet. For some people, it's when you eat one food alongside another food within a certain amount of time of each other that they can't digest it properly. And so once we figured that out and started cleaning things up, everything started to work.
And I want to go back. This is something I meant to ask you. I know that you said you work with doctors and they're able to run the labs. Do you know, because you're in Florida, I'm in California, is that something that I would pay for out of my own pocket, or is that something that can be billed through my insurance? Do you know that at all?
So it can't be done through, the insurance won't accept it. But if you have a HSA or FSA, those flex spending account, so I do accept those for any of my clients who work with me. I don't believe the clinic does for the lab test. I'd have to double check with them on that. But like I said, the lab test itself is $250. It's not anything for the clients that go through me. Normally it's a $400 test. So I tell people $250 is nothing. To me, it's peanuts knowing the amount of money I spent and the amount of time.
Yeah, because my husband, he's allergic to everything under God's green earth. I remember we were talking about my interview with you, and he told me, he says, I just had an allergy test done every year. And he said, I looked at the EOB. He says, that's very expensive. He didn't tell me how much, but he just said it's very expensive to run a full labs on trying to figure out what you're allergic to.
Yeah, those are expensive. And honestly, Carmen, that's looking at an immune response. And why is the body having that immune response? I'm still hoping one day that we can get my son to not respond to peanuts. But we'll see. We'll see if we can ever get there. He certainly has a much less of a immune response, which is good because that means the likelihood of him going into anaphylactic shock and throat closing up is much, much less. And that's everything else is like, okay, you get some hives, those go away. You're okay. But the other, that's, as a mom, of course, that's what I worry about.
That's why I'm with the pineapple. I can't have any pineapple because then my throat starts closing up and I feel like my eyes are bulging because I can't breathe. So I know that kids with peanut allergies are worse than that. Can you talk about any client transformation, particularly those that have managed to come off medications for maintaining cholesterol, diabetes, or anxiety? I know you have.
So I have a lot. I have several. So we talked about my client, Regina. She did come off of all of her diabetes medication and doesn't eat it. And this was in less than 18 weeks. And she had been on medication for years. Her doctor could not believe it. Her doctor, when she started with me, wanted to double her medication because things were getting so serious. And the medication was making her sick to her stomach. So she said, I just started working with this new coach. Can you just give me some time and we'll rerun my labs? And she turned everything around. It was completely amazing. And she had also had thyroid cancer. So she had her thyroid removed. And those who don't know, thyroid plays a big component on your metabolism and being able to lose weight. So her thyroid labs, even though she didn't have a thyroid anymore, the function was back up. So her doctor was almost like, oh, do we need to bump down your thyroid medication? And, it's amazing how even when they remove an organ, there's always still something a little bit still there. There's memory in the body of things. So that's the blood sugar. My client, Jane, she's working to slowly come off of her medication for depression and antidepressants. And that's something that you really need to work very closely with the doctor because you can't just come off cold turkey. So she's been stepping down off of that and has done really, really well. My client, Angela, she suffered from anxiety many, many years, had been on and off medication, and she attributes her weight gain to the medication she's been on. So for the first time ever in her life, she has avoided going back on any of the anxiety medication. And she was also borderline with her cholesterol. And once again, she told her doctor, give me some time. I'm making some changes. So she avoided having to go on any cholesterol medication. So a lot of really big wins in the health area there.
Major, because no one wants to be tied to a pill bottle. We want to be able to live a life as clean as possible. I wanted to bring this up. I know that when we had talked before, because I had asked you, I said, well, I think the best diet for me is one that I enjoy the food and I don't feel like I'm in a jail or something. Like, here's my life sentence. If I want to continue to stay thin, these are the only foods I can eat. No one wants that restriction. You want to be able to have a life that you can enjoy and be vibrant and just not be restrained.
Absolutely. And that's creating a sustainable lifestyle. You know, if your favorite thing in the whole world is chocolate, and I always talk about chocolate because I love chocolate, and you could never have chocolate again, or you could have like every time you ate it, you would gain like 2 pounds and then you have to work for like 3 weeks to get those 2 pounds off. That's crazy. You know, so it comes down to knowing how your body reacts to things and then finding those substitutes. And I always tell people it's usually not the chocolate. It's not the certain meal that you like. And if it is, some of my clients have to avoid cane sugar. Well, there's so many sweeteners out there. Coconut sugar is amazing. And there is the most amazing chocolates. I have nothing to do with this company. It's called Lulu's, but they make these truffles, hazelnut truffles, and they use coconut sugar instead. So I sent that to a client of mine for her birthday and they're dairy free because she has to be dairy free. She couldn't do the cane sugar. She's like, I can never have chocolate again because she couldn't have dairy and she couldn't have cane sugar. And most of the chocolate out there has cane sugar in it. And then the ones that are alternatives, she had tasted. She's like, oh, these taste terrible. I'm never going to be able to eat chocolate again. I said, I'm going to send you something. So I sent her for her birthday the Lulu truffles. And she was just like, oh my gosh. She told her family, nobody touches these. They were amazing. I said, that's what I do. I research and I look for the products that my clients will still love and can eat, but are healthy for their body.
Yeah. And let me just add in here, I remember you shared this with me, that you're a picky eater. So not only are you doing the research, your standard is higher than most people.
It is. I'm very picky. If I'm going to eat something, it has to be something I enjoy. If not, I'm not going to waste my time. I'm busy. I got something to do. You know, if it doesn't taste good to me, I'm not enjoying it. I don't want it. That's not for me. I remember for me, I can't eat any eggs. So baking, I had to learn to bake without eggs. So how can I make cookies? How can I make cake when it comes to birthdays? And just learning how to do all of that. And my son, the sweetest thing, he would eat anything. And I would be like, nope, that one didn't work. Like, redo, try again. Like, I wouldn't serve this to guests coming over. No. And so, yes, I am super picky. So when I put something out there, I know 99% they're going to like this. There's always that 1% that may not. That's it. I'm pretty good. And everyone I've shared my recipes with and what I use and how to substitute different things to make it taste the way they're used to. One of my clients, she has a teenager and we all know how teenagers are. And she's like, what am I going to do at Thanksgiving? How am I going to make the pumpkin pie? How am I going to make the sweet potato casserole? I said, I've got you covered. This is how you're going to make your pumpkin pie. These are the substitutes you can use. This is how you're going to do your sweet potato casserole. This is how you're going to do this. And it was so interesting. Her daughter did not even know the difference. Another client of mine wanted to make chili and cornbread. And so she took my cornbread recipe. And her husband said, "This is the best cornbread I've ever had." So when other people are eating the food and they're enjoying it and they don't even know that you've swapped out things, then you know you've struck gold.
And what I like about what you just said is that you're not feeling deprived. You're still having what used to be your old lifestyle. You're enjoying those foods. And the best part about it is that it's okay with your body. It's something that there's been a lot of studying and a lot of fact finding and scientific blood lab results that say what you can't have and what you can have, but you're allowing people to still have that. And the other thing I remember you talked about is that you said no counting calories.
Yes.
And that's so big because I remember I track with my phone. I ate this, I ate that. And then I have my Samsung watch. And so it tracks my activity. And so I track my intake and my activity to try to see, okay, am I budging the needle here? What's cool about the way your program Reboot and Rejuvenate, the education system, is that it allows me to, I don't have to count calories. I haven't tried it for anybody. I haven't tried the program, but I'm just based on what you're saying. You don't have to count calories. You don't have to feel like you're being deprived of anything. And the good news is I'm going to lose weight, and my numbers at the end of the year, at the beginning of the year, whenever people usually run their numbers, they're going to look amazing. The doctor's going to wonder, what on earth are you doing? Or if you don't need that medication anymore. I mean, that's amazing.
It's life-changing for people. You know, that's why I love what I do. When they come back and they said, "Oh my gosh, Karen, you completely changed my life." And in every aspect, I'm happier, I'm healthier. And most of the time they first talk to me because they want to lose weight. And then I have to ask them, "How much weight have you lost? Because you look like you lost some weight." They're like, "Oh yeah, that's now like a backseat." Like, they're like, "It's not about the weight loss anymore." And they just feel so much better. And my client, Tammy, said, "I didn't know what normal felt like." And that was really key, because when you're used to feeling a certain way, and she would describe herself as the turtle. She would just get up in the morning. She didn't have a lot of energy, but she would just, going through, because she's a mom, she's a grandma, she owns her own business. She has to get things done. So she would just go at her pace, because that's all she could do, and get through her day. And now she wakes and she's energy through the roof, feels great, can do all of these things. And she's like, "Wow, I feel so good." And I said, "This is what normal feels like." She's like, "I didn't know what normal felt like, because I had lived for so many years the other way."
You mentioned that I thought was really important too, was eat when you're hungry. And I know I tried a plan where I order my meals and they arrived home, and this was labeled breakfast, this was labeled lunch, and so forth. And then it said, and you can add these foods, which were usually vegetables and some fruit, not a lot of fruit, but vegetables. And I remember I tell my husband, I'm like, "I'm still hungry. Now what?" And so to hear you, when we had spoken previously, you said, "You eat when you're hungry." And I thought, isn't that nice? Isn't that liberating?
Yeah, it is liberating. And it's learning to listen to your body tells you when you're hungry. Obviously, if I get super busy one day and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't slow down and I waited too long to eat," then I'm starving. Happens to the best of us. But, it's really understanding the cues and signals and making that mind-body connection. And we're fueling our body properly. We don't need to eat, because that food creates the fuel our body needs. And in order to lose weight, you need to burn off that glucose level so that you can go into fat burning. So it's not about the calories, because a Snicker bars has so much calories, and so does a plate of salmon with a salad. How your chemistry in your body reacts to a Snickers bar versus the salmon and salad is completely different. Completely different. So it's not about calories. It's about what food are you putting in your body, and can your body use that as the fuel that it needs? If not, it's going to send you another signal. You need to feed me because it didn't get what it needs to keep going.
Yeah. And so there's 3 phases, and phase 1 is more of the getting to know the client. We're getting to know the person's, what they're allergic to or what they can have or what they can't have.
So it's not just about the food that you eat. We need to do an assessment of the whole person, from the food to, is there any chronic stress going on? Do we need to implement some tools to initially be able to manage that, but then work through making the life changes that need to happen to get rid of that chronic stressor? Like for me, it was making a change out of the program that I was working on to a different program, and then eventually moving into being a wellness coach that completely lifts my spirit and is aligned with what I enjoy doing most. So that's the first thing, is to assess all of those areas. And is there anything in your spirit which brings that emotions, that joy, that happiness? Sometimes it's a relationship issue that needs to get addressed. So really deep diving into the whole person and identifying all of the things that need to be addressed and coming up with a tailored approach to how they're going to start to make these changes in their lives that are going to bring them that balance. So that's phase 1, is doing that, identifying all of those things. Phase 2 is all about, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to hit the ground running. If you need to do that food analysis, we do that. I recommend what to do in the meantime so that they can start feeling better. So it's like, who wants to wait a couple of weeks to get those results back? I was like, when we can start doing it now, because there's a list of things that I can recommend. Take these out and see if this starts to make a difference, because it's going to be 1 or 2 of these things. And it's not a long list. It's a list of 7. So it's not 50 like my poor son. And then creating that lifestyle that supports them. It's really phase 2. And then phase 3 is that mind and body cleanse, back up all of the systems, cleaning out the liver, just getting everything back online and really igniting everything. So now you're a clean slate.
And when does the getting active? Does the active phase take part in phase 1, phase 2, or phase 3? Or when does that get introduced?
Sure. So I start in phase 1 and I introduce some yoga, because yoga is really great, especially as we age. Some people have less mobility and it just gets you moving. You know, I always recommend movement every day, but it comes into more play into phase 2, where we really create that routine that is best for you. You know, some of my clients, they're like, this really isn't working for me. Well, if the movement isn't something you enjoy, because everything comes back to joy and pleasure, then you're not going to stick with it. You know, I had a client of mine, she's like, I can't do anything that I'm on my hands and knees. There's just too much weight. And I said, okay, let's get you in the pool with the water that takes the stress off her joints. So she just started doing that every morning. And I was like, yes, this is working. And so now she's worked up to, she just bought a Peloton bike. And she's amazing. She's lost 95 pounds. I told her we're going to celebrate when she hits 100. And I said, it's not far away. She's losing like 2 pounds a week. I'm like, it's just incredible that this lady, and she's just amazing. And she started with just doing 30 minutes of just moving in the pool, not even laps, because she had a small pool. She wasn't going to the pool. She just had a pool at her house, and she would just get in there and do some exercises. And this is where she is today. So it doesn't have to be extreme. I always thought, I have to do some really extreme hard workout in order to lose weight. No, I just need to move my body a little every day, and I need to fuel my body appropriately, and I need to keep my stress down, and I need to make sure I get good night's sleep. Sleep is really important. That's part of the investigation we do, is how well are they sleeping? Because if you're not sleeping, you're not resting, you're not going to that rest and repair state. And that's another stressor on the body. So we look for all of those stressors and start to work each one of those in phase 2.
And then phase 3 is educating about the foods to eat and learning recipes that'll kind of give you what you missed out on or what you think you're missing out on. Like if I like carrot cake, teach me how to eat healthy carrot.
That's all in phase 2. That's all in phase 2. Phase 3 is really the mind and body cleanse. So that's when we reignite the metabolism again. When you clean the body, everything tastes differently. Like I remember my client, Brandy, she did the cleanse. And one of the things during the cleanse is you follow this program of what to eat that's going to help detoxify the liver. And then the day that she brought in the blueberry smoothie, and I told her, I said, wait till you try this blueberry smoothie. I was like, it's going to be the best blueberry smoothie. You actually taste your food again. Our taste buds completely change and they get clean. And it's like, wow, I can taste my food. I said, wait till you taste this carrot celery soup. You're going to think it's the best. Your family won't because they haven't done the cleanse, but you're going to think this is amazing. And she's like, oh my gosh, she was so right. This is so good. When we clean out, it's like food actually tastes good again, and simple things taste good. You can taste your food.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, I have a question to ask you. When a person is going through the detox, because I've gone through different plans, and when I'm going through a detox, I just feel like I'm getting ready to have a colonoscopy. I'm just so sorry about that to be so graphic, but you know how you just feel like I just need something to just carry me to the next day. You just feel deprived. Yeah. Does the cleanse do that? Does your cleanse do that? Do people tend to feel a little like maybe headachy because you're letting out these toxins, and unfortunately, the toxins can create headaches or itchy skin, just different things because it's coming out.
It can. Honestly, the ladies who've done it haven't had any severe reactions. I know that when I did previous detoxes, I felt like I was having the flu. When I did the one that I do, I did not. Why? Because I had changed my diet. I was no longer eating the food that was making me toxic, right? This is why I have a very specific order, because if we start with that detox first, it's going to make you feel terrible. And there's no need to do that. We need to start at the right step to clean everything up. And I teach them there's naturopathic medicine therapies that will accelerate the healing process in the body. And we do all of that before doing the detox. So it makes it so much smoother, so much easier. You don't have those. I haven't seen them have any extreme effects that I went through when I tried doing them. So everyone's body is different. So I'm not going to say you're not going to have anything, but it depends on where you are when you start. But I know that with my system, it's much, much less. When I do it now, I haven't had any of those symptoms, no headaches, no body ache pain, none of that. And it's because your system is so much cleaner to begin with. So there's not that much that needs to come out. And I also provide very natural remedies. So like if you have a headache, this is what you need to do. If this happens, all you need to do is this. That will alleviate any symptoms that may pop up. So, because the last thing you want to do is feel miserable for a day or two.
I know like a lot of times I can't move forward with the cleanse or whatever the detox is supposed to be, like it's a 3-day or 4-day. I can't because I feel so horrible. And I'm a mom and I have people that I'm responsible for. And so it's just, I think the adverse effects are the reasons why it's just so difficult to go through it. And so that's good that the way you've set your program up, it just makes it to where someone can successfully go through the detox process. So Karen, where can people hear more about you and your Reboot and Rejuvenate program?
Well, I have a couple of places. I do have a Reboot and Rejuvenate page where they can learn all about the program. And if they're interested, they can book a call with me because I do speak to every one of my clients personally before selling them the program. I need to make sure that I can actually help them and that it's a good fit. This is what they need, and it's the right time for them to do this program. So that's one. If you're interested in learning more about any free trainings that I have a Facebook group. It's a private Facebook group, but it doesn't cost anything. It's free. And you can request to join. It's 40 and Fabulous out there. And I think, Carmen, you have the link to that as well. You can provide.
I do. And I will provide all your links, all your social links and links to your Facebook group, your private Facebook group that they can request, and a link to get in contact with you to schedule an appointment to do that assessment.
And I really recommend everyone start with, I have a masterclass out there that you really get a lot more detail on what Carmen and I talked about today. And it's a wealth of information. It's an education. So it's really an introduction to what you would see in my program and my teaching. And that's absolutely free as well, because I want to get the message out there to more amazing women. And that's the other thing. I find that women, when we learn and get better, it's a cascading effect because it impacts our whole family. Everyone gets healthier because who's buying the groceries? Who's educating our children on nutrition and movement and how to live a happy life? It's the mom. So I have a lot of ladies who start and then their husbands do the program with them because they're like, wow, I'm going to try this. I want to do this. And now the whole family is healthier. I have ladies that the mom starts, the husband starts, and then the teenage daughter starts. And it's great, and since it's the program that they purchased, I'm like, hey, it's for your family. Teach your immediate family how to live that healthy life and bring that through.
Yeah, and that's very important because unfortunately, a lot of us I think that we have moms that, that brought us into this world and we're busy moms and they feed us or they teach us what they learned. And maybe those habits weren't the best habits. And what do? We turn around and we teach our kids those same unhealthy habits. And so your program's kind of a way of correcting that cycle.
Absolutely. And I was very fortunate. My mom is from Spain. And so I grew up on a Mediterranean diet. And you always hear about how healthy a Mediterranean diet is. And it is. But the problem is I can't eat egg. So even though egg is a healthy food, it's a healthy form of protein. If you can eat them. It was destroying my gut. So you can eat a healthy diet, but if you're eating something that's not healthy for your body, I always tell people, I view eggs as my kryptonite. So if I was Superman, eggs are my kryptonite. I have to stay away from anything that contains an egg. And learning what your kryptonite is key, because that's going to make all the difference.
And it's going to solve the problem as to why your body's not responding like it should. When I listened to your mastermind, you had talked about when your liver's working properly, your body's burning calories like it should.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Your liver is part of your metabolism, is part of your digestion. It's your detoxifying organ. It's a protein synthesis. It also stores your vitamins and minerals. So all those amazing, wonderful supplements that you're taking, if your liver is full and toxic, you're flushing your money down the toilet. It's not getting stored. So it's it's amazing organ, and to make sure that that's functioning right. And most people are like, oh, I want to run out and get labs on my liver. Well, unfortunately, what doctors are looking for is disease. And you have to wait a long time. And maybe it'll never become disease, because they're looking for a specific number. But optimal function is what I'm referring to here. That's the difference.
Yeah. And the thing that I'll have to brag to people here is about what's unique about your program is that you have been trained to be an engineer. And so you have designed this program with the engineering mentality.
Yes. So the root cause investigation that I do is exactly what we do in engineering when there is a system failure. Because when we're not able to lose weight, or we're gaining weight, or we have headaches, or we have all of these things, that's a system failure in the body, in the person. And so we need to look at what's going on in the body, what's going on in the mind, and what's going on with the spirit. So it's a holistic approach and systematic, integrative approach. And then where do we start? How are we going to start so that we do things in the right order to get those optimal results and get the results that are going to last? That's the other thing that is super frustrating is like anyone can put you on a diet and you're going to lose some weight. But are you going to reach your goal, and is it sustainable, and is it going to last?
And that's the most important part is getting there and staying there, continuing to live a healthy life from that point forward. Right.
I had my son at 39, so I want to be around for my grandchildren. I'm already one of the older moms at the school, so I can imagine if he waits as long as I did to have kids, oh boy.
Well, Karen, thank you so much for being on the show. I look forward to having you on again.
Well, thank you, Carmen. It's been my pleasure. I've loved chatting with you, and thank you for having me.
Wow. Karen is amazing. I really love that Karen looks at each person as an individual and understands that we are all different and that what may work for you may not work for me. I also appreciate that she uses science to help figure out what kind of warning signals the body could be sending us that something is wrong. Understanding the science behind why the body is not responding to diet or exercise is essential, and Karen totally gets it. Did I fail to mention she's an aerospace engineer as well? Engineers are taught to look for possible fault codes when things are not working correctly. Therefore, Karen's engineering training is the same approach she uses when working with people. She's looking at the whole body to figure out where's the fault code and what can be done to get your body working as it was intended to. Karen is currently offering a free masterclass for those who are interested in knowing more about her and her program. The link to Karen's masterclass and today's transcripts can be found at createthebestme.com/EP018. If this episode resonated with you, please hit the subscribe button so that you can stay updated. Join me next week as we'll dive into topics of lifestyle changes. This episode is packed with actionable steps, so be sure not to miss it. Until next time, keep dreaming big, take care of yourself, and remember, you are beautiful, strong, and capable of creating the best version of yourself. Thank you for watching.